Hello everybody, welcome back. It's time to learn some more Python with Jordan and Jackie. And today we're going to show you how to handle conditionals using the if-else structure. Now, the reason we might want to use this is basically to allow our program to make decisions, to do different things depending on the status of various variables or some such.
Exactly. We give a choice to the computer.
Indeed. Okay, Jackie, would you show us the super basic first version of how to use just an if statement?
Yeah, so the way I've thought about it is we're going to ask for an input from the user first.
So remember we showed in a previous video how to take user input and output through the terminal.
So are you happy?
Cool.
And let's dive in the choice.
Yeah.
So we have the if
And
answer equal and
you need a double equals there, Jackie.
equal.
Yep.
It's important. And
Yes. Yeah, we'll just use y. Cool. Okay, so and then you're gonna add the output. Yep. Cool. You're happy. Excellent. So let's just have a look at the syntax there. So on line 3, that's something we've seen before. That's just using the input command to give a prompt and get a reply back from the user in the terminal.
exactly.
So can you explain line 5 to us, Jackie?
So on line 5, we start with the if. We want to check if something happened, right?
Yeah, and that's the key word for the if statement. Yeah.
And then we have what we said as the condition for the if to be true, for the condition to be true. So answer double equal y.
The condition under which we will do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's related to the comparison that we've done in the
Indeed,
previous
so we've
video.
covered comparisons before, and we're checking whether the string from the keyboard, a variable called answer, whether that string is equal to y for yes.
And we have the colon that's close this condition.
Yep, you have to, this is just one of those weird things with Python syntax. You have to end the line of an if statement and many other types of statement that we'll see later with a colon.
And then after this colon, all the following lines that we want to include in this condition, we want to execute if the condition is true. We have to push them a little bit on the side, so we say we indent.
Yeah, they have to be indented by one tab. Now, typically, your Python IDE will usually do this for you. Replit does it for you quite well. Mu, kinda. But yeah, you need to just check and make sure that you have a tab indent.
So we're gonna run that.
Let's run it.
Are you happy?
Yes.
And I'm gonna say with a y.
Yeah.
It says cool.
Cool.
Let's run that again.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say, well, yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show anything because here we explicitly ask for a y. We compare the answer to a y.
Right. So it's important to remember that computers are pretty stupid, and they will do exactly what you tell them to do, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, and so in this case, when you typed yes, we didn't get any output at all. And that's basically because the program came along on line 3, it got the input, then on line 5, it checked whether that was a y, and it wasn't because it was yes. Therefore, it did not print cool.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the program. Boom. Yeah. Right, so what if we wanted to deal with other answers?
Yeah, we would introduce the keyword else.
Okay.
So else is going to give us the possibility to do something if the condition was
not met.
True.
Yeah. So that's kind of like a catch-all. Any code inside the else condition will be executed if and only if the previous conditions above it were not executed.
Yeah.
So logically here we're saying if the answer is y, we print cool. Otherwise, we print something else.
And we have the same construction. The else is closed with the colon, and we indent whatever we want to include it in this statement.
But note that there are no brackets after the else because you don't need a condition for else because the condition is we didn't do the if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you happy?
Let's say no.
Something else, so no. And I didn't get that.
Okay, so great. so we can see how that works now, I suppose. I didn't get is an unsatisfactory answer to the question though, Jackie. I feel like we need another case to handle me confessing my unhappiness to my computer.
Indeed. So here we have a very specific condition, and then we have everything else. So something we can put in the middle is the otherwise with a condition.
Another condition. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And what's the syntax for that?
So elif is going to be the condition. Here we're going to need the bracket with
a condition.
This condition. Yeah. So again, an answer.
Yeah. So just by the way, elif, not a word exactly in English, but it is just a shortening of else if. And so basically what this means is it always has to come after an if. So you say if the first condition, otherwise if this other condition, and the way we write that is with elif, else if. Yeah. Okay. Right, so if my answer is no, then it says it's sorry for me, cool.
So we can play that. We say no, N, sorry,
yeah.
and sorry to that. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So I guess it's important to note how strict it is about exactly what we wrote in this case. In a future lesson later on, we'll go into more details in strings, and we will see that there are some things we could do to make it a little bit more flexible, a little bit more all-encompassing, ignoring case and stuff like that. But for today, it's just the structure we're looking at. What if we wanted another case?
Yeah, so something to be clear about here is that we have three possibilities here.
At the moment,
and when we run the program, it's gonna do only one, right? So if we fit in one box and in another, the first box that's gonna be true.
Yeah. Okay, right, yeah, I see what you're getting at there.
So let's try with numbers. Maybe that's a nicer way to...
Yeah, okay, to illustrate this. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So we're gonna maybe scratch that out?
Yeah, so all right, so let's imagine that we have a number and we want to work out whether it is like between 0 and 10 or between 10 and 100 or between 100 and 1,000. So sort of trying to see how big that number is. Cool, yeah. And then... Yeah. So if it's less than 1,000, we'll add what we do in a second. So maybe here, say print, it's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then here we say, it's big.
Yeah.
Yep. And then let's say, well, let's show here as well that we can have multiple elifs.
Yeah.
So if it's less than 10, we can say it's small.
Yeah.
And then shall we add an else?
Yeah. Elif.
Well, or let's just do else on this one.
Up.
Yeah.
And
then print error.
Yeah. Fair enough. Up.
Okay, so before we run that, let's logically think about this. So x is currently 1, so it's small, right? So we are expecting that when we run this, it's going to tell us that it's small. Shall we try that?
Yeah.
What?
It's
huge? Oh my goodness, Jackie.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Well, as we started introducing, the first condition that's going to be true, it's going to stop there. Give us an answer and then skip everything else.
I see. So you're telling me that...
here, it is true, and that means that we show that and we skip everything
all the rest. Yeah. Okay, so an if, else structure is always going to go through from top to bottom, and it is going to do the first condition that is satisfied and then just abandon the rest.
Yeah.
Okay, so presumably we could do something slightly different. So yeah, so the issue here is that we are checking the most all-encompassing condition first. So we're checking first, is x less than 1,000? Then we're checking, is it less than 100? And then we're checking
So
less than 10.
two things about that. We could maybe we want to have these three answers showing up.
Yeah.
In that case, we would say if. So
I see,
showing
yeah.
three different if condition. If we want only the closest answer, then we're gonna have to obviously revert that.
So we do it in the other order. Okay, and then if we change the text, yeah, you wanna just change our responses
And so
there. It's
we're gonna have.
small.
Oops. So
What's going on? Here we are.
small, hop, and then big, and then huge.
Okay, let's see how that works now. It's small. Okay, so now it's working. With that number at least, we can. You wanna try it with a 15?
If we have 15, then
We should get.
we're
it's
gonna
big.
have. It's
Cool.
big, right?
Yeah, okay. And so the reason this now works is that we are first checking if it's less than 10. If we go beyond that, that means it's not less than 10. And then we check if it's less than 100, which means we're kind of checking, is it between 10 and 100? And then so on for the 1,000 as well. Okay, and then you were just telling us that if we want to check multiple conditions, we just have to have them as separate, completely separate
Yeah.
if statements. So you want to lastly just show us how that would work?
So maybe you just want to have something shown for all those cases. So the else in that case is not really
yeah, it has
relevant
to
and
go.
would only work for the last one. But here we would have something like that.
Okay.
And here we are all big and we are also
Huge, yeah.
huge.
So obviously in this particular case, that's not a very logical way to do it because, we want to be checking just one thing or the other. But the key point we're trying to convey here is that if you want to allow for multiple different conditions to be met, you need to use a set of separate if statements instead of an if, else. Okay, I think that is enough for one video. You're going to see us using these structures later on in some of the more advanced videos we prepare, but hopefully that is enough to show you the basics. So, come back again for our next video where we're going to learn some more Python. Bye for now.